In this lesson, we are going to build the footer section. As you can see, I've already built it, so we will start from scratch. But first, let me just grab the entire footer and bring it right here. So, let's begin. The first thing we're going to do is press T on the keyboard and type. Wait a minute, we need to change the text color to white so we can actually see what's going on. So the text is, let's bring your vision to life. And again, you can type whatever you want, whatever you would like. This is my text. So I'm going to select the home page and paste it right here. And now let's change the font because the default font is Inter. So let's change that to Outfit. And I think it's 120 pixels, like a large, like 120 pixels. And let's change the width to fill. And now let's select our text layer and press Ctrl Alt Enter on the keyboard. And the first stack will be container. And let's press again Ctrl Alt plus Enter, and this one will be footer. So let's set the max width property in container to 1280 pixels. Now let's select our text layer and let's change the line height to 1 for now. I think it looks good. And let's also change the align property to center and add a max width property of 600 pixels. Let's try 800. That's also too narrow. Let's try 900 pixels. Yep, I think that works. And let's also change the weight to semi-bold. No, you know what? Let's change the weight to medium. Yep, that's better. And now let's select our container stack and change the gap between items to, let's say for now, 80 pixels. Let's press F on the keyboard and let's click, drag and release our frame, and let's cut and paste it inside the container section. And let's select our container section and change the direction to vertical, just like this. Let's make the frame much more smaller. You know what? Let's take the actual width and height. It's 276. Let's round it to 280, and that will be 430 pixels. Let's also add a radius. And now we can add our image. I'm just gonna copy this one and paste it right here. You can do it from you can upload an image from your computer or use the Unsplash plugin, whatever feels right to you. And let's add another text layer. So we'll duplicate this one and move it under the picture. And let's just use this text for now. And let's change the size to 24 pixels. Yep, it's 24 and medium. Let's change the max width settings to 500 pixels. Let's try 600 pixels. Yep. That looks great. So let's duplicate this text layer and let's change the size to 14 pixels and type, for example, based in Houston, and we'll create another text layer. Well, let's duplicate this one and let's type Texas. Let's place these two together inside a stack and let's change the gap between them, between the items, to 4. And the first layer will be, let's leave the color at white, and the second layer, let's also leave the color at white, but let's reduce the opacity to 50%. And let's also change the weight to regular. So let's select our stack and change the width to fit content. Let's move it up and let's duplicate this stack again. Let's call this info and duplicate info. And now let's select both of our info stacks and the image and press Ctrl Alt Enter on the keyboard, and let's change the direction to horizontal, just like this. And let's change the distribute property to space between. And now let's move image to the center, just like this. And let's make sure each info stack, let's set it to fill. And now let's change the texts right here to, for example, framer developer, and let's change this one to plus product designer. Yep. Let's also change the width. Let's remove the max width property and change the width to fill. We'll do this for the remaining text layers here and also here. Now let's duplicate this text right here, Ctrl+D, and let's change the text to LinkedIn, and let's change the font size to 14 pixels, the weight to regular. Let's remove the max width property, and the width, let's change to fit content. Now I want to take this icon right here. We already have it. There it is. So I'll paste it right here. And then let's change the color to white. And let's change the width and height to 16 pixels. And now let's grab the icon and the text layer and press Ctrl Alt Enter and name the stack LinkedIn and change the direction to horizontal and the width to fit content. Let's also change the gap between the items to 4. And now we can just duplicate the LinkedIn stack twice. Let's change this to Instagram. And let's change this one to dribble. So this one will be Instagram, and this one will be dribble. Let's select all three stacks and press Ctrl Alt Enter, and let's change the direction to horizontal and the width to fit content. Now let's change the gap between items to 24 pixels. So now let's select our footer stack and change the direction property to vertical. And then let's copy this text right here and select our footer stack again and paste it. Let's change the text to Alex, and let's make it very, very big, like huge. So 400 pixels. Yep, 400 pixels, semi-bold. And let's remove the max width property. And let's select again our footer stack and change the gap between items to 100. No, let's change that to 200 pixels. So now we have this image right here, which I like. So let's copy it. And then let's paste it right here. Let's select the image and text layer, and let's add them to a stack by pressing Ctrl Alt Enter. Let's call this one bottom. And this one right here, the image, will change the position type to absolute and the width and height to 100%. Also, let's select our bottom stack and change the height to 500 pixels. Now, let's add a z-index property to our text layer by going to the right panel, and from styles we can choose z-index, and let's give it a value of 2, like so. And now to create this effect, let's select again our text layer, and from the right panel, let's click on the icon in the style section, and let's select blending, and let's change the blending to soft light. Now let's select our image and let's change the radius to 0. And next thing we're going to do is to add a mask so we can blend the two backgrounds together. So to do that, we need to go to the style section, click on the plus icon right here, and then select the mask option. And here in the rotation field, let's add a 180 degrees, just like this. And let me set this one to 10%. I think it works, and I think it looks good. And that is it for this section. And this is the final section of the home page. And in our next lesson, we are going to build the about page. So that's it for today. I will see you in the next lesson.